I don't know. Is it 7 o'clock yet? Anybody know for sure? Can we tell? Can we have
It's
a
1 minute till.
Oh, okay. Well, at this point, starting early, I'm going to be over here adjusting the camera and figuring out what on earth went wrong with my poor beleaguered laptop. I don't know. So, but maybe, just maybe, this means that we'll have better quality video and maybe better quality audio too. I don't know. It's what we're going with. So we will be able to see your comments. Welcome to Julia Pop. For starters, technical difficulties be damned. At least you're getting to see everything floor to ceiling of my background. So that's kind of cool, right? Yeah, maybe something. Steven, as always, my co-host and currently troubleshooter, because he's kind of doing a lot of crazy computer things, seeing if he can make my computer live again. So I have no idea if it's going to go. I will try to read and keep up with comments to the best of my ability. And it looks like hopefully Steven's seeing, if things are coming up all right. So anyway, welcome to Julia Pop. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you're able to tune in. Hopefully everything is looking okay, because I had to swing for the fences and just pop that phone on. Just to use it. So, which is why you're getting vertical video this time. Normally we try to do, the lovely landscape for those of you that like to watch and listen on your laptop or on your television devices. But this time it looks like we are going vertical. So, if you haven't heard, our theme is our favorite toys. And in all of the chaos, I'm not 100% sure where my piece of paper is under my poor dead and or dying computer. I don't know if it's gonna live or not. We might have to start a fundraising drive to get me a new laptop. I don't know. We'll see. This guy has done like crazier things and made things live from complete dead state before. So, but let's talk about our favorite toys. So I've introduced you. I'm all sideways right now because I'm trying to figure out sideways because I'm trying to figure out what next. So our favorite toys, let's talk about those. And of course, remember, once we get to the end of the podcast, we will be reminding you of what next week's theme is going to be. I think I had time to figure out what that is. We'll figure it out. So for our favorite toys, oftentimes our favorite memories of toys have to do with advertising, which is an episode or two that we've talked about before. Of course, most of everyone's favorite toys have bright colors. They're very engaging, exciting, something that you want to play with, something that you want to touch. Oftentimes, they are themed, something that would be relatable, something that's cute, something that's memorable, something that has become iconic. And right now, off to the side here, I am surrounded by a whole lot of stuff. Mark says there are so many toys. So welcome, Cousin Mark. And Crystal says, like my old computer had, he revived for a little while. Yeah, so she can attest, Crystal can attest to what he has been able to pull off with all of the computer issues. So, and now, one of the other things that a lot of people don't realize about toys is that over time they have been educational. So they're teaching you something new. Sometimes they are aspirational. So you play with toys that something that you aspire to do in the future. So a toy guitar, something like that, which would be what I had. Yes. And then also it helps to spur your imagination. So different companies would come up with things that would inspire you to imagine, to dream more. And so now, of course, what normally happens is I decide on the topic, then I study the topic for a whole entire week. And I get a little overwhelmed usually at how broad of a topic I picked, so I have to narrow it down. So I will let you know we are going to do a separate episode on board games. The kind of party games, those kinds of things. So we're going to kind of separate those, even though there's a little bit of bleed over on a couple of the toys that we will mention today. For the most part, we're not going to talk about those board games. We will definitely do a separate episode of that. Inger, welcome to you as well. All the toys, never a toy I can't teach with. That is a perfect way to call it. So we laugh and we learn, and I love that you're already inspired by that. So, of course, the history of toys goes all the way back through the history of time. It is prehistoric. People that have been digging up Roman and Greek historical items, the Indus Valley in Egypt. All of these have evidence of toys having existed at that time, and some were mostly very simple devices. But the interesting thing is, right around the late 1800s into the 1900s, finally, a little thing called child labor laws came along, and suddenly children were allowed to be children and actually have something to do, to enjoy their childhood, to have a positive childhood, then go into adulthood and work their butts off for a dime. So this brought on a lot more toys. And so at the beginning, many of them were handmade by the parents, by members of your family. Inger says it perfectly, straw dolls. And so we started from what we had lying around that we could turn into a toy. Wow, that's impressive. He's already, he may be co-hosting, but he's also ITing like a champ right now. So I'm just going to punch in a little something, and I have no idea if this is going to get us there, but hey, we'll do what we do. So the oldest toys were made of things like wood and wax, and then as we had more access to things like metal and tin and lead, and then we also, of course, had...
The first toy was a stone. We all know that.
Exactly. Stones and sticks is where it started from, pretty much, and so,
Don't break people's bones.
And Crystal says, not when you work for your parents, LOL, and that's where a lot of that comes from. You would be raised to take on the family business, and sometimes you don't get a chance to play with your toys as much. And then, of course, the fancier toys like dolls would be made of porcelain. And then, of course, in the 20th century, late 19th into early 20th century, the use of plastics became a very big deal. And then, of course, caused an explosion very similar to, you can see how many toys I've got going on behind me as well. And there's even more off camera that I'll be bringing on camera to show off to the best of my abilities. And then, of course, you had some simple things like carts. And this is like even prehistoric stuff. You had carts, you had whistles, a monkey on a string. And it was very cute because they drill a little hole into this wooden monkey and you could spin the string and make him go up and down the string. So very cute, very cool things like that. Do I need to do anything different, or are we just watching for comments?
You just talk to them.
All right. He's going to continue his IT life. And then, of course, we had very simple toys like tops and yo-yos and dolls. And then, of course, weapon, people would pick up a stick and turn it into a sword, or they would turn it into a pretend gun. There were always all of those
Before
different
any of that, they'd pick up a stick and turn it into a stick.
And then throw a stick at you. Yeah, exactly. So, and then, of course, puzzles. Some of the earliest puzzles were just wood blocks that had a specific way that they would fit together. And then, as early as 1739, people were blowing bubbles in the tub. And so it was fun for a little kid to get in the bathtub and blow bubbles. And so, of course, bubble blowing really grew out of that. Inger said, mammoth bone to make rope. How cool is that? Yeah, I like that. See, always with the great information. I love that. So then, of course, we had more modern invention, or more toys such as hoops. And so sometimes you would chase a hoop with a stick down the street, and that was just kind of how you had fun, was keeping the hoop spinning and keeping it upright. You'd go fly a kite. You had puppets. You had marbles. You had blocks. You also had more complex toys.
Kick the can.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had more complex toys in the 1800s, and a good point of this came from the industrial age. The different kind of items that you could use to make the toys with. Also, things like mass production, things like plasticine putty were starting to be used for
mass production
toys.
That put the elves right out of work.
It certainly did. Yeah, unfortunately, the poor elves are just out of work, I guess. But I don't know, they still work. They still come up with some cool stuff. So then we also have interesting things. Like I said, they got more complex. You have things like a kaleidoscope, which of course you spin it and it spins the items and the light goes through and you're able to see all the changes in the colors and the patterns. And you also have zoetropes, which is the little spinning thing that has holes in it. And when you make it spin around, it makes it look like the horse is actually galloping. And so like similar to flip books, because you remember we always, you had the flip books where when you would flip it past very quickly, very similar to the 24 frames per second, you can see the little guy running or whatever it was.
I made some flip books.
Did you? Did you? Very nice, very nice. And then, of course, doll houses to go with our dolls that we have created as well. Now, one of the first plush to be mass-produced was Peter Rabbit in 1903, and it was also trademark. So Beatrix Potter loved that people loved the books and wanted to have their own Velveteen Rabbit. They wanted to have their own Peter Rabbit. And so they started mass producing plush characters, and Peter Rabbit was the beginning of that. And then, of course, there's licensing, copyright, and trademark characters and all the different agreements that all the different companies had to get together to do, but they would do it. And then, of course, once you get into about 1920, the die casting process really goes into full gear, and engineering is a good part of all of how these toys come about. So you get trains and cars and ships, and one of the earliest things to be die cast was the toy soldier. And so the little green army men weren't always plastic like our childhoods. They went back to being that die cast, that tin, sometimes even made of lead. And so, of course, plenty of opportunities to be able to play with that. We didn't, and then of course once real cars came around, toy cars weren't far behind, and so in 1953 you've got the Matchbox Company making cars the size of a matchbox so that you could fit it into the matchbox, stick it in your pocket, and you have your toys with you at all times. And then of course, one of the other toys that we know, and some people get kind of creeped out by it, would be the Jack-in-the-Box. It goes all the way back to the 1500s. A German clockmaker actually created something that would spin and after a time would pop something up. And the interesting thing about that, they called it the Jack-in-the-Box because a fellow by the name of Sir John Shorn, and there was a fabled story about him that he had saved a small town by taking the devil that was running rampant in the town and sticking him in a boot. So he was devil in a boot. So, and so whenever you say this in French, diable en boîte means devil in the box or devil in the boot. And so from there we got our Jack-in-the-Box. So sometimes when the thing that would pop up would be the scary thing that would pop up, right?
We all know that the devil's name is Jack, really.
Well, okay, all right, sure, I'll go with that. Inger says, I love Matchbox cars and the racetracks. Yes, one of the things that we got for Christmas, the little push-button racetrack where you could race them around. We had so much fun.
And the tracks that you'd get beat with.
Oh, I didn't have that happen to me. So, sorry about that. But no, anyway, what I always thought was so great is that my parents, even though we came up in a time when it's like, oh, girls play with girls' toys, boys play with boys' toys, that really didn't come into place until 18th, 19th, into the 20th century, because it didn't, previous to that, you were busy working with your family. You didn't have time for toys. But as that came about, you have the pink aisle and the blue aisle or whatever it is. And so they were always trying to pick, oh, well, what's this toy supposed to cater to? And so in my day and age, I was a child of the 70s. I was fortunate because they were selling Legos to me. They were selling race cars to me. And that was the thing, is that it's okay. It should be fine. If a boy wants to play Barbies, cool. I hope he grows up to be a great, fashion designer, whatever it is. Whatever it is, because that's what I said. It comes down to educational and aspirational. And if that's something that you want to play with, by all means, play with your favorite toys, What
I learned from playing Barbies with my sister is Barbies really like the short guys, because all my He-Men were so much shorter than them. And so that's who they dated.
And that's the other thing. A sizing convention is very important because, of course, your Barbie, in comparison to smaller dolls, G.I. Joe had a bit of a problem, too, because if you were playing G.I. Joes and Barbies, and they were different sizes.
Because I'm not old enough to know the gigantic G.I. Joes.
Mark agrees with you. Yes, very good spanking devices. Yep. Stephen.
Well, and not just spanking.
I do that.
Boy, I don't think I ever got spanked with them.
Somebody cracked you on it.
But yeah, my buddies and I had beat each other with them. I mean, it was a spanking device for sure. But also, we'd whoop each other with them.
And Crystal said, Lincoln Logs was one of my grandmas that we played with. So, one at my grandma's that we played with. So yes, once we start getting into the 20th century, things really start taking off. So my next section is called Timeless Favorites. And we start with 1913, the beginning of the Erector set. So, of course, we had access to more medals.
How you say that.
I know, exactly. I do have to be very careful. And again, it was job aspirational. So if you wanted the next engineer of the future, how many times will you hear people that become architects, all of that? Oh, I love playing with my Erector set when I was a kid, all of that. Similarly, and thank you for Inger to bringing this one up, Tinker Toys came out in 1914. And of course, what's iconic about them is that they came in a tube box, and we're going to talk about this box in a bit, but it came in that tubular box with the lid at the top. And so if you remember that about Tinker Toys. And then what was really cool about them, what I thought you would like in particular, is the fact that it would lend itself to complex machinery. And so all of the things that you're learning when you play with Tinker Toys, the angles, and it was based on a Pythagorean triangle, your 45 degrees, your 90 degrees, those kind of things, and then using that disc.
Geometry.
See, there you have it. I knew you were going to come around to all of that. So Mark says G.I. Joe, the original G.I. Joes were taller than Barbies. So yes, and then there were some that were smaller than Barbies, like your He-Man figures. Yep, exactly.
I wouldn't know that, Mark. I'm not so old that I would know.
You're
the
only
gigantic
2 years apart.
So it's like a big 2 years.
No, it's only like if even that. All right. So then, of course, as Crystal mentioned, we had Lincoln Logs. Those came out in 1916 and were created by John Lloyd Wright, son of Frank Lloyd Wright. And so it's one of the most successful ones. And I definitely took a minute to look at what is in the Toy Hall of Fame, things that have been nominated and gotten in. And so that's one of the big ones too. And we're still, and Linda says, listening from Branson, I loved building things from everything. Yes, absolutely. And that's what's great about the ones that I've mentioned so far. They are multi-generational. We played with Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs and Erector sets, all of those things, because they continued on.
I played with fewer of those because really I got a lot of, because I outgrew those really quick. My mom would just give me broken things and I would disassemble them. And
but that was fun for you, right?
But it's on the same concepts too. It's right. So it is. I played with the Lincoln Logs and the Tinker Toys and all that, and I'm like, and then she's like, here, have this thing that's broken, and I'm like, let me take it apart and see how it works.
Yeah, and so it was that curiosity goes a long way with toys as well, not just the inspiration and all of those as well. And now, of course, with the travel ideas, we had Lionel trains and Tyco trains and Marx trains, and lots of people have favorites, with that Lionel being kind of the big standout. But toy train collectors are a big deal. And I don't know, just complete side note, Neil Young, the rock star, big Lionel train fan. And you just never know what walk of life they're going to come from. So it's always enjoyable to see what people choose and what becomes nostalgic for people. Of course, some of our items were accidental inventions. They were looking to create something else, to invent something else, and ended up inventing a fun toy. And one of those would be Silly String. In 1972, Silly String came out, and of course it's that spray string, right, that annoys the crap out of people and you have to clean it all up. They were using that because they were wanting to come up with a way to create a cast. Like when you break a bone, they wanted to be able to just spray this all the way around and then it would harden, and then it would hold your broken bone in place. And now we do have some things that are very near that at this point. But in the trial and error part of it, when they erred, they came up with Silly String and were like, this is kind of fun to spray each other with. And
anybody that's worked in any sort of laboratory or anything knows that they check around with stuff all the time.
Yes.
So if you find something and it doesn't quite serve the purpose that it was, those guys are going to find something to do with it.
Yes, Inger says Sam made a playhouse out of the plastic Tinker Toys that would hold up a blanket for a roof. And then Mark brings up the next one that I was going to talk about. In WW2, World War II, they were trying to come up with a replacement for rubber, and instead they created Silly Putty. They figured out it was fun to kind of mold it around, and then you could press it on your cartoons and get it to print out. All kinds of fun there. Now, Slinky was very similar as well. During World War II, 1943, military research on different kinds of metal and how to get them to make into springs or whatever. Well, the spring wasn't working for what it needed to do, but it was really fun to go back and forth, and so along came...
It's fun for both boys and girls.
Oh, Crystal agrees. Yes, very good spanking devices as well. So, all right. So, and then, of course, we do have wind-up toys, and most of the time those were made with metal. So I did want to grab a couple of things that I forgot to get a little closer to me, but they are probably somewhere close to being in frame. So pardon me for just a moment, and I'm going to show you a tin toy and a wind-up toy. And one of them is mine, and one of them is my dad's.
T-I-N.
Exactly. So here, you can hold that scary clown boy. So this is a bank, and so as you can see, he has a little spot here where you can put the coin onto his tongue, and then then the coin drops in. Not scary at all. So speaking of other things, and then if you're scared, and I have no idea, I haven't checked to see if this particular wind-up toy that we bought in the 70s still works. She doesn't work very well anymore. but she can crawl, and I don't have a good way to show her off. But as you can see, we've got the little wind up there, and we're kind of getting her a little crawling to crawl. Not scary at all. All right.
Can't sleep. Clowns will eat me.
So yeah, and so if you end up hearing a little unwinding sound, it's the cute little doll that I tried to get signed up. And then, like I said, and this is one that the clown I have not really checked to see if it's worth millions. I don't even know. Not even sure. Yes, and Linda said that she loved Silly Putty. And then Crystal says that's a nightmare waiting to happen.
We're going to clip that. That's
Sorry,
gonna be the favorite clip
we
of
just
everything.
brought you nightmare fuel. You're welcome. All right, so we move on to other creative items such as the Etch-a-Sketch, and I learned a little bit about that too. It came out in 1960, and it's considered a plotter. Are you familiar? Yeah, you're familiar with what a plotter.
It's an XY plotter.
It is. It is. And so basically, what I didn't understand, and I learned so much, is that it has 10 pulleys, 6 cables, 2 rails, and a stylus. And it's the stylus that you have control of, and the stylus actually is scraping aluminum powder off of the front frame.
And if you didn't know that,
and that's what makes
you've never disassembled one like I have.
You've disassembled it, so you've seen all the different parts and pieces. So yeah, and that's why when you shake it, you're not shaking it you're shaking the art away, but you're really just putting that aluminum back onto
which really isn't good for you, by the way. I should not have opened it. It is not good to have aluminum. That fine of aluminum, you could breathe that in and kill yourself.
All right, so let's move on and talk about the big brands. And a lot of us, if we watched a lot of advertising, we might even remember the jingles. And so, of course, we have the Ideal Toy Company. It's ideal. So, and it was considered, and I believe is still to this day, the largest doll-making company in the United States. They originated the teddy bear, which didn't come around until 1903. The creators that owned Ideal Toy Company talked to Theodore Roosevelt, who apparently hated that nickname of Teddy. But again, he was big on conservation, and they're like, yes, we want these bears to live.
He was a hunter too, though. That was the myth, was that he spared a bear's life. He didn't shoot it, and so they made the teddy bear.
And so they did get his permission to name it the teddy bear, and it was extremely popular in 1903. And then also from Ideal Toy Company, and a nice little tie-in to our advertising, there was a little doll called the Unita Kid. Unita was the name of the biscuit company that eventually became Nabisco, and so National Biscuit Company. And so they had the Unita biscuit, and they had it wrapped in paper so that it wouldn't get rained on. And so it's a little boy with a raincoat and a rain slicker, a rain hat, and that came out in 1914. And of course, you're cross-promoting. So I want to buy that doll. Now I want to buy Nabisco crackers, Unita biscuits. And so then, of course, one of their most popular ones was Betsy Wetsy in 1934. I didn't realize that dolls that can wet go back that far, but they certainly do. And the other cool thing about Betsy Wetsy is they offered the first African-American version of a doll. If you ever would play with dolls, sometimes you would have one that had different skin color to match that of your own, so that you feel included. And so I thought that was pretty cool that they did that as early on as they did. And so then, of course, Ideal Toy Company was responsible for some very famous person dolls. The Shirley Temple doll was a huge seller. The Judy Garland doll was, too. And then, of course, Disney got involved and had a bunch of tie-in stuff. The Muppets also had a tie-in and had a whole bunch of stuff as well. And then one you might have liked from back in 1960, there was one called Mr. Machine. Do you remember him? He was basically just a wind-up little toy, and he was just a little robot. He'd walk, and he'd kind of sway, and he had a little bell, or the bell would make a noise. So you might not remember that.
I had a couple of robots, but I don't
Crystal
remember
said,
that one.
my mom had a Betsy Wetsy. See, memories. I love it.
Was it you?
No. Okay, so as I was working my way through all of the Ideal toys, there was one that I was not going to plan on showing because I'm like, this is a tiny one. Not many people will remember it. But as I was going through all of the Ideal brands, we found a little one called Flatsy dolls. And I always thought this was such an odd little doll because this is my Flatsy that I have with her completely wild hair. And I think she used to have a vest. I don't know. Is this kerchief supposed to be a vest? I'm not sure. But she's flat. She's like, and they actually used to come in picture frames, and then they would come with a little extra thing. And so, as you can see, my little horsey that she comes on is also flat. And so I could put her on the little horse, and there she is with her completely wild hair running around with her little rocking horse. So yes, a big one. And Crystal says maybe eventually. So those were the Flatsy dolls that I didn't even know they were called that. That was just one of the many dolls that I played with. I know. And then, of course, one of the big ones that we spend quite a bit of time talking about would be the Chrissy doll. So Chrissy is right here. And she was the one where you could grow her hair or you could make her hair go away. So let's talk, no, not by cutting. So here she is with her long hair, as you can see, all right? And so what's going to happen is there's a little, and I'm sorry if I'm showing off a little bit here, but you have this little wind up, a little knob, and you can just use the knob to wind that hair back up again. And look, her hair is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and then hopefully it matches up. I can't remember if I chopped some of her hair. I feel like maybe I did. And so now she's got this really cute short hair. And so you would just brush it all out and everything. And then whenever you wanted, and I know that looks terrible. I really didn't brush her hair, and I probably should have. But there she is with her short hair. And then she has a little belly button here. And it's a belly button, and you would press that button, and then you're able to pull the hair back out. And there it is. She's got her long hair again. So I got the red-headed doll, which is this Chrissy doll here. My sister, being a blonde, got the Velvet, was the doll. And I don't know if I still have that. Again, so many boxes that I've got to get through downstairs. But this was one of the ones that was a big favorite of mine. I always thought that she was such a cutie. And so that was also from the Ideal Toy Company. Now, Evel Knievel came out with a lovely little motorcycle. And, of course, it was on a little stand. I got the girl version. How rock and roll is this? And so I don't know how much this works. I haven't tried it. Maybe I'll do a video of it later, just not right now. But basically, you would grab this, you would crank it up, and as soon as you finish that last crank, this lovely motorcycle had like a little back motor to it, and it would just spin out, and it would just go zipping across the room. So this one,
way to release it. I thought you got it revving, and then eventually it popped down.
Yeah, and you just kind of had to get it up to a certain speed, and then it would let go. Yeah. Is how I did it. But mine actually had a name. It wasn't Evel Knievel. It was Daring was her name. Who I just think she's fantastic. They put her in pink. Hey, right? Girls get to ride on motorcycles too and do daredevil stuff. So I just always thought it was really cool that they had it set up this way. This was one of my very well treasured toys. So, and then yeah, and it's just got like the little silver things that go in the yeah, and they just go in like that. Gotcha. And then you crank it up. So I might do a video later where we crank it up, just maybe not this time. I'd hate to break it on screen. that would be kind of funny. What, are you going to try to break my stuff? Don't try to break my stuff. I don't think so. And then, of course, going into the 80s, we have a little thing called a Rubik's Cube, which I've already taken photos of. As you can see, mine is unsolved. Hilariously, I've left it unsolved because Stephen has a book on how to solve it that I intend on reading someday when I don't have,
that I got from my father. That
which
was
is
my
really
father's.
cool.
It's kind of on loan, so no one needs to tell him that I have it, and he'll never remember.
So, but anyway, someday I'll read the book and get this, but it was hilarious because when Brother Mikey came over for the holidays, he just went and solved the thing, and I'm like, not fair. I've never solved a Rubik's Cube.
To be fair, he solved all but the bottom row.
Oh, I thought he did the whole thing.
I don't think
Pretty sure he did the whole thing. I don't know. Either way, I still haven't learned how to solve one yet. Wish me luck. All right, so our next company is called Hasbro, and that was the Hassenfeld brothers, just shortening Hassenfeld to Has and Bros. And they originally started doing pencil cases, but by 1942 they were doing toys. They had nurse and doctor kits. Again, aspirational. I want to be a doctor when I grow up, so you have your little doctor kit. I want to be a nurse when I grow up, so you have your nurse kit. And then they had a really good breakthrough with a little guy by the name of Mr. Potato Head in 1952. Now, originally it was just the mouth, eyes, and ears, and hats and stuff, because you provided your own potato. Yeah, so you'd ask Mom for a potato, and you'd put all this stuff on the potato. Yeah, and then later you'd give it back to Mom, she'd turn it into French fries and eat it, I guess.
Or you wouldn't, and it would go in your toy box and rot.
Ew, that happened?
Oh, I'm sure that happened.
That sounds awful.
Did you not have kids? No. I know your kids. I'm certain.
No, but they didn't allow things to rot. I usually went through the toys because half the toys were mine, if you can't tell. So, yeah. So, anyway, they end up with the plastic potato that then is the one that we know very well to this very day. Now, they actually, in 1963, did come out with something called Flubber. It's the equivalent of slime, like Nickelodeon slime, and of course, lots of people can make that now. You put in glue and glitter and whatever other cornstarchy kind of thing to have fun with it. It was never my bag, but apparently they made Flubber, and there were issues. Like, it was causing rashes, and they had to recall it. So Flubber kind of came in and went away. Of course, there's a movie Flubber, but it wasn't
because you make it with an acid.
Oh, okay. Well, there's your trouble. So Crystal said moldy. Ew. I'm with Crystal on that one.
Same.
And then, of course, Hasbro was responsible for the G.I. Joe action figures starting in 1964. And they were also responsible for one of my all-time favorites, which, of course, I still have with me. Let me show him off. And I don't know if he's going to cause a lot of glare, but I did turn him on. My lovely Lite Brite. I was going to do a different one than the picture that I took, but there it is. Carousel has always been one of my all-time favorites that I always love to put together. And there he is. And so that one came out in 1967, also from Hasbro. Now, Hasbro was responsible for another problematic thing, and that would be the javelin darts, a.k.a. lawn darts, that have been since outlawed. People die.
They're outlawed. You can't legally possess them, sell them, or ship them.
Mm-hmm. Gone. Just gone. So they came out in the 70s, and it took it till 1988 to finally get that to happen. So
it's because a girl got stuck in the head by neighbors.
Oof.
It was the fact that she wasn't the one playing with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was like
injuries that people talk about. Yeah. So now this is the same company that did something called the Hypo Squirt all the way back in probably the early 60s or so. Inger says Lite Brite, so many hours of fun. I will tell you this about the Lite Brite though. It was so calming. And I don't know if it was just from me going back and feeling nostalgic, but it just was very calming to find the right color and put that together. I really loved it. I might do more of that. Yes, Kat, welcome. Now, you had something called fashion plates, and they were these little plastic things, and you would flap open the top frame. You'd put a piece of paper in there, you'd flap it shut, and then you would just use, like, a pencil.
We had cars.
Yeah. Oh yes, you were playing with that.
Yeah,
so
we had cars that did
so,
the same.
but yeah, and the thing is you could change the top and the skirt and the shoes and all.
Could have different wheels, different chassis, different top. I don't know. I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we are. It was the same toy, just geared to boys in the blue aisle and geared to girls in the pink aisle. But yes, fashion plates was fun, and you change the color. You had like the little patterns where you could add a pattern to it. Yes, agree. Lots of fun on those. And then, as I was saying, Hasbro was just problematic. They had something called the Hypo Squirt. And it was about so big, and it looked like a hypodermic needle, but it would shoot water 20 feet. It was the Super Soaker before Super Soakers. Yeah. So, and Kat says, Spirograph was my fave. That was the other thing I was going to grab. I did buy a new Spirograph. My old one is long lost and had fallen apart, I'm sure, over the years. But Spirograph was a big favorite, too. And the really cool thing, and we'll talk a little bit about that somewhere on here. I promise I will get to that. But yeah, they got rid of the Hypo Squirt because it looked too much like a hypodermic needle. And everybody's like, just teach the kids how to shoot up. And I was like, whoa, no, I don't think so. But because it looked so much like a syringe and was actually called hypo, like a hypodermic needle.
Because it was a hypodermic needle. It was a hypodermic. It wasn't a needle. It was a hypodermic.
Exactly. So, moving on to things a little more positive. They did have great success with My Little Pony back in 1982. They've had a few different versions, and of course, the comeback that we, my kids' generation, know and love is the reboot. And so, of course, that brought popularity back to all of My Little Pony things. And, of course, My Little Pony is one of the ones, and we'll talk about some more of those later. You wonder what came first, the cartoon or the toy, and sometimes it was one, sometimes it was the other. And we'll talk about more of those as well. Now, another thing that Hasbro succeeded at was the Nerf ball. They started out with Nerf balls, Nerf footballs, all kinds of stuff, and that was in 1970. It was marketed as the first indoor ball. So you could still bust things up in the house that way, but they were a little softer. They wouldn't hurt as much when they landed on your face. So, at least we have that. And then one of the things that we know from about 1989, the Nerf blaster, the Nerf gun. Yeah. Still this day, I know I've got at least something around here that does amazing Nerf fun stuff, and so that was one of the more popular things that Hasbro did. They were also responsible for bringing the Furby to the United States in 1998. Not creepy at all. Totally creepy. You'd hide them in the back of the closet and they'd start making noises at 3 a.m.
Even when they had no batteries.
Creepy, yes. And so Crystal says, I had the Magic Castle. Should have kept it, but I sold it at a garage sale for My Little Pony. So the My Little Pony Magic Castle. Yes, it probably would have been worth a whole lot. What? Oh, I almost forgot. Yes, speaking of figuring out what came first, the action figure or the cartoon, we had Transformers in 1984. You had Transformers, didn't you?
I would have liked Transformers.
What? Oh, you got the
Transformers were expensive.
So you got the off-brand.
Off-brand and a GoBot. which is a name brand,
good.
but they were the cheaper version. But yes, I had a couple of Transformers.
So not robots in disguise.
They were robots in disguise.
They were robot toys in disguise. Yeah.
They were Transformers in disguise.
And then what's funny is I'm pretty sure we've got a Bop It somewhere around the house. That came out in 1996 that I was able to find the Top It. It's not, I don't think it's working. I don't think it's on. I'm not even sure how that thing works. No, it's there. Where is it?
The button that says on.
Well, I am not wearing my glasses. Yeah, we need batteries. I don't think it's on.
We don't need batteries.
But anyway, the Bop It, aka the Top It for this one. Maybe I'll get some batteries and we'll do a video on that.
Yeah, because that one like had a ball and you would.
Oh, okay. And then the ball had to go into different
stuff.
All right. Somewhere there's probably a ball around here. Got it. Now we have to jump forward to a very important one called Mattel. They opened in 1945. They're the second largest toy maker after another one that we're going to mention here in a minute. They started out doing dollhouse furniture and then eventually had good success with something called a Yuka-Doodle, which is just a tiny little kid's ukulele. And then they had the Magic 8 Ball in 1946. So let's see. Do you have a question that you want to ask Magic 8 Ball? It's right over here while I go grab it.
Also, I could tell you what that thing looks like on the inside.
That's true. You've busted this one open too. All right. Somebody ask Magic 8 Ball a question. I'm shaking it right now. So somebody give me a comment asking Magic 8 Ball a question.
Let's watch the
we'll give it a second. This will give me a second.
Yeah.
So
now you're just getting the ball down.
I know. So there is a delay. But somebody ask it a question. I'm going to keep shaking it as we keep talking about Mattel items like this. All right. And so then, of course, the big one that we all know, that we all love, is Barbie. She came out in 1959, invented by the person who helped run Mattel, Ruth Handler. Most of you are familiar with the movie that came out that has a lot of that history and all of that kind of stuff. Crystal said, I actually hated playing with Barbie. Broke my mom's heart because she played Barbie long past her age limit. Now, I was an interesting one. Jackie always played it old-fashioned, but...
Dude, all right, I
usually put my Barbie in a truck. Like, we had a really cool truck, and like I had her always out and roughing it, and like we'd get out in the mud. Now this is one of the oldest ones that I have. This one belonged to, I think, to my sister. It might have belonged to my cousin. I'm sorry. I'm going to kind of hold her because this is a classic, guys. Look at how old she is. That is definitely one from either the early 70s or the late 60s, because it either came from my sister or my cousin. And you can see, because of the detail of how different her face is compared to one of the newer Barbies. So let's see. Oh, here we are. So I wanted to grab a new Barbie. This is one that belonged to Caitlin, and you can see it's got some lovely pink hair. She's got a really great party dress. And if you look, her face definitely looks different. They've given her the more 90s into 2000s kind of makeup. And Jimmy was a big fan of Hot Wheels, and matter of fact, that was also Mattel. So there we are. I actually have a carded Hot Wheels that my daughter had bought a while back, and that came to me. So that one is with me.
So I got a Barbie story. Barbie story, going to slam some people that aren't listening or aren't alive anymore. So I will stab you.
So Crystal says, my mom got me the Office Barbie set, and I used the furniture for Mud Pies, LOL. And then Kat says, will Steven ever get a big boy base? And go on, Steven. Tell your story.
So,
and somebody asked me a question when the time.
That's
what this was. Okay.
So my mother-in-law, my ex-mother-in-law, my daughter's other grandmother, would buy her Barbies, but like the fancy Barbies, and tell her never to take them out of the boxes.
No.
And so, of course, my daughter being my daughter, she left them up there until she got ticked at them one day. You know, they were out of her reach, and then she climbed up there and took them all out of the boxes. But she told me this the very first time that she ever got her Barbie, and I'm like, all right, I'm not a big fan of Barbies. I wasn't, just never been a fan. So I'm like, but I'm getting you Barbies, because toys are meant to be played with,
absolutely.
not to stare at.
And if that's the case, then buy two. Buy one that you save,
right,
and buy another one that you get to play with. And that's what I did with Jillian, too. So she had ones that she was able to open up and play with. She didn't play a ton of Barbies, but she did play a little. All right, so Kat has the question. Will Steven ever get a big boy base?
Remember, I know how to open you.
Oh, man. It is decidedly so.
See?
So
I'm going to get a stand-up.
It's happening. It's happening.
The big, not some stupid electric.
And where are we going to put that in the house? You live in your office. We're going to put it in your office.
Right here.
Okay, your office, not mine.
My old office.
Okay, but anyway, I did go ahead and bring a couple of other Barbies so I could tell a little bit more of the story here. So one of my favorites was Skipper, and as you see, this is actually Malibu Skipper. She's a bit more tan, but if you look carefully, she has the flat feet. Skipper had the flat feet, whereas our Barbie dolls have the pointed feet, like they joke about it.
Kat said I had a
Darcy's to go on a Barbie's, yes. And I'm about to talk about that one, and that was a fun one that I enjoyed. And this is my Dusty doll. Now, this is Dusty. You could actually set her out, and she would tan. So if you had her in a different outfit, and you had like little tattoo stickers that you could put on her shoulder, and it would make a little heart-shaped tan line. And so this was my Dusty doll. And so she had her own line of everything.
All tan if you had a magnifying glass.
Not like that. But Malibu Barbie did that as well. Now, this one was a fun one because let's take a look at her and her beautiful blonde, Dusty. And so she could actually switch and become, and once you get it all brushed out, she would become a brunette. I mean, she's looking a little bit like Storm right now. It's fine. But yeah, so once you had it all kind of brushed down and
it's
out.
Not creepy that her scalp turns around.
It does. Yeah, that's how you do it. Like this scalp part just turns, not the head, the scalp turns back and forth. So there you have it. But no, I really loved her. I thought she was great. And so I'd leave her out to tan and stuff. And of course my sister would go out tanning as well. And so that was one that I definitely wanted to share with you guys. So of course Barbie based on a Lily doll, which was kind of found in more of the like grown-up shops, naughty shops and things like that. It was usually kind of a joke doll. Crystal said I had a doll that had brown hair and would turn hot pink in the hot water because you put it in a hot water and cold water and it would change colors. Yep. And then Mattel was also responsible for something called Chatty Cathy, and she was one of the earlier pull toy dolls. Yes. And so from there, I have a pull toy doll, but she does not, unfortunately, work. I did not find her name. That this little girl, I know she's a hot mess again. I didn't brush her hair, but she was a puppeteer, as you can see.
That's pretty
she's
stylish.
got her cute little puppet, and so you would pull it, and it could tell it actually would push in the right amount of things because of the length of this the little pole that goes in. It would hit the right thing, and whenever you would pull it, she would do the dog voice, or she would do the monkey voice, or she would do the clown voice. And so I don't think she works. Yeah, there's nothing happening.
Pull it fast, maybe she'll start.
No, she's not. No. So, but it was really cute, and someday I'll find her name. But she had other little puppets. Here's her little girl puppet that she had, and her little monkey puppet that was probably one of my favorites, and her sad clown, little Pagliacci sad clown. So yes, so that was a really fun one for me to play with. And then from there, Mattel was also responsible, and as you can see on the back of this, the Mattel, maybe the logo. There it is, that lovely red logo. And so this was found for me by Caitlin at a thrift shop, and it is a CNC. And of course, you don't say. So who do you want to hear? You have
Animal.
Oh, Animal, where's he at? There he is.
3.
Number 3. And hopefully this is, like, if you ever had a CNC when they get old, sometimes they don't do it right. So let's see. Nope. We got Fozzie out of it. So let's see. If we got Fozzie out of that, let's go back this direction and see if this works. All right, one more time. Ice cream cone. 3 big scoops. There you have. There you go. So yeah, Crystal said, I had there we go. But when those pull string dolls start to die, they sound possessed. Yes, absolutely. And Inger loves the CNC. So yes, I was very fortunate to get one that works, not too bad. It's not exactly perfect, but hey, at least we get to hear them and they are functioning decently well. All right, and so we already talked about Hot Wheels that came out in 1968. And then the number 1 largest toy maker is Lego. Fun story, they came out in 1947 in Denmark. They were patented not long after that. They were originally wood, but then went to plastic when they realized how well they could snap together. And it's the word leg and goat means play and well. So what it means is play well, which is what they were going. And so whenever Lego has programs and stuff here in the States, and they call it Play Well Technologies, and that's where that comes from. And then, of course, the first Legoland opened in 1968. They still exist to this very day, and you're able to go in, buy Legos, have fun with Legos, all that good kind of stuff. They have over 400 retail stores, and you have a separate stamp for each one. So they're encouraging people to go to all 400 Lego stores. Can you imagine how much dedication? And then one of the big ones opened in 1992 in Mall of America. So, of course, a very big one. Now, something that Mandela affected for me, and I did not realize, I thought I had Legos. Y'all, I didn't have Legos. I had Play School American Bricks. So, yes, that is the Play School company with the Play School logo right there. And, yeah, my bricks were not... Oh, and look at that. I didn't just put bricks. I actually have blocks in there, too. Whoops. Talk about old school. But, yeah, so my Lego bricks that I have were not legit Lego bricks. Oops. Although that one looks legit.
Yeah, that one is. That white one's not.
Yeah, so you can definitely see the difference. Here, hold up that legit brick. And then the different one, which, let's see if I can get one loose. As you can see, my Lego brick, my not Lego brick is very different in sizing, and they're not going to get together. And then Jimmy says, oh yes, and Inger says, so many Legos still in my house. Jimmy says, I have a massive collection of Legos. And of course, we've got to mention Play-Doh. Where is that on the list? I do have some. We're going to have a little Play-Doh fun here in a bit as well.
No.
All right, and so that's Legoland, yes. All right, and then of course the movies, the Lego movies, major popularity. Lego continues to this very day.
Games.
Very much so.
They were Vidya games
very much
before
so.
They were.
Yeah, and Kat says Jimmy has thousands and thousands of Legos. Yes, indeed. I love it. All right, and so then Fisher-Price, responsible for a few things. Now, I will share something once I get down to all the bottom of these, because some of you might be like, oh, well, I remember that was actually from Kenner, not from Hasbro. We'll talk about that in a second. So Fisher-Price, for a while, had responsibility for a little something called the Viewmaster. Now, mine is GAF, because that's how old this thing is. It's from the early 70s, late 60s. And this is one where you put the little round thing in here, and then you would just scan it forward like that. And Jimmy thinks he has probably over 1 million blocks. I believe it when you get dedicated. And so with the Viewmaster, like I said, you had some really cool little Viewmaster things. I got a couple of Disney ones and some Muppet ones. And I realized when Jillian brought her significant other over and he wanted to have a look at them, that my old one wasn't working very well. So I went ahead and bought a new updated one. And this updated 3D one is a different company. I think that one is one that ended up you can see the Fisher-Priceness of that shape and color and everything that goes with it.
That is very Fisher-Pricing.
Yeah, so now you do have the opportunity to be able to look at that whenever you like. All right, and so then we also have the corn popper. If you remember the little thing with a handle that looked like a vacuum cleaner, and it would go pop, 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 pop. That was definitely one from our childhoods. Yes, and you had lots of different options. My son had the mower one, and I had like the little popcorn popper one. And then, of course, my first fill in the blank. My first dollhouse, my first saw, first, yeah, sure, exactly. And so one of the big ones was the little people. And so the Fisher-Price little people were a very big deal to me. So I'm bringing you the minibus. How cute is that? It's from all the travel. And of course it says FP Fisher-Price on the little thing. And
you missed the most important, my first Ren Fair band.
That's us. We're like that. We are similar to that. All right. So, of course, we've got the standards, and I've got the little people that aren't little. They don't do them this small anymore, but I've got the dad, or the older male, the older female. Of course, we have the other classics, the cute little girl with the blonde hair, the cute little boy with just like a little sprig of red hair, and then, oh yeah, I also have some more modern ones, which would include the cute little dark red-haired girl. I named her, I don't know why I gave her a name and not the others, but her name is Regina.
Minutes.
Okay, thanks. And so Mark says the bubble mover, and Kat says, I can't get over Julia's treasure trove of pop culture collectibles. Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. And then we always joke about the grumpy dude with the ball cap. There he is, my grumpy dude with the ball cap. Ta-da! And then, of course, one of the other favorites who always looked very Snoopy-like to me, the doggo. Big fan of the doggo. Yes. So, and then, of course, whenever you make this move, it makes them kind of bump up and down like they're on a school bus. All right. So, anyway, so they all, of course, had houses in 1969. A barn with the moo. Whenever you open the door, it said moo. In 1968, the chatter telephone, which was a big fan. I was a big fan of. They also had the Rock-a-Stack, which was that little rainbow-shaped. It's the round discs that you just had a pole and you had to put it on correctly, and it was just a very small child learned how to do that. So, and Crystal said those are toys siblings would buy for the nieces and nephews to drive their parents crazy. The popcorn poppers. Yes, Weebles. And that
they wobble,
is,
but they don't
fall down. And I promise we will get to that.
They will if you make them.
So, and then Fisher Price also had my first camera, my first record player, my first movie viewer. And then Little Tykes was another one that ended up getting bumped into Kenner as well as Hasbro. They had something called the Cozy Coupe. If you remember that little red and yellow car that just stood up very funny, and the kid could get in there and go like all Fred Flintstone on it. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, and Kat says, was there a treehouse? There was a Weebles treehouse, and I do have that. I will take a better close-up picture. It was in that big picture that had like a whole bunch of toy stuff that I had laid out. I will take an extra picture of the Weebles treehouse that I have. So of course I've got him here. I've got to bring up Tonka and Tonka trucks. Those came out in 1946.
Back when they were metal.
Yeah, not plastic, but Tonka. And that's one of the big classics. Now, we mentioned Kenner, 1946. They are now Hasbro. They got famous doing the Bubble-matic. Now, we had people talk about Play-Doh, so I guess we're going to try and open one of these. Here, you want to open this one? Yeah, let's see how it goes. So this Play-Doh has been sitting like in the back counter bag something 20 years. It has a label on it saying 2006. I can't imagine this is going to turn out very good. So he's got a green
I know
one.
way to recondition.
Do you? All right. So maybe we can make this 20-year-old Play-Doh live. I don't even know. I'm scared that it's going to like ruin everything. So, and we'll see if we can even get the thing open. Oh, look, that opened right up. Very good. Can you get it out?
No, it seems fairly decent.
You think?
It's a little dry, but it's not too bad.
All right, well, I don't think I'm strong enough to open mine. So I'm going to let you keep going at that while I keep going, because we are running out of time, and I am trying to be cognizant of that. Oh, hey, that does work. Yeah, there's a mushability to it. Yeah, and it's not... Oh, yeah, that's that Play-Doh smell. Heck yeah. So Crystal said I had a few of those Play-Doh sets. Oh, yeah, Jimmy says, Tonka! And Crystal says I had a few of those Play-Doh sets that I would stamp food and such. I had a Burger King one and would make my dad order things to make. Classic. And Michael says the Hulk Hogan WWF collection, best toy ever.
I don't know what he's talking. Oh, do you mean the Roddy Piper WWF collection? Did it have Hogan in it? I don't remember that one.
No, I'm not sure. So anyway... Oh, yes, so Play-Doh. It's in 1955, this also had a different use. It started out as wallpaper cleaner, because when people would use coal to keep their house warm, they'd get coal dust all over the place. And this was to remove coal dust from their wallpaper. Well, that started to go out of fashion. And then from there, they're like, oh, hey, kids, we'll put some color on this and kids can play with it. And so we also had an ad mascot called Play-Doh Pete. And for a long time, he had a beret, and then he had a ball cap. And now they have ones that are just jars of Play-Doh. They're called the Dodos. I thought you'd like that. Anyway, one of the big favorites was the Fun Factory, which is the one that Crystal was talking about, how you could press and you could kind of extrude stuff and have fun with that. Do we? Okay, I'll have to look for that.
Kids played.
I'll have to look for that. And the one big one in the 70s was the Fuzzy Pumper Barbershop. That was really good. And you put you have a little dude and you have him make him all kinds of great hair and then clay. Yeah, all kinds of. Here we are. Ingrid says Play-Doh, not for celiacs. I had no idea that this was problematic. I'm going to wash my hands extra good. Not that I have it, but if I have friends that do. And then, of course, later in 86, they had the Mop Top Hair Shop. Now, we've already mentioned Spirograph. Now, Spirograph things existed back in 1827, and it was actually called that, just in a different language. And then in 1965, Kenner got a hold of it and made it the popular one that it was all through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which is how I ended up getting to play with it. I know. Now, my sister was a big fan of the Easy Bake Oven that Kenner put out in 1963. She was also a big fan. I liked Baby Alive. Baby Alive could not only wet, but it could also eat and drink and cry and blink, and it was one of the dolls that when you laid it down, the little eyes go shut, and then you bring it up. So Crystal,
half a step ahead of us.
I'm trying. And then Kat said, was anyone ever concerned that Silly Putty would take the print off of newspapers? Exactly. No one knew. And then Crystal says, Stretch Armstrong seems like it would fit in there with WWE stuff. He can confirm. I don't know why people are trying to ring my phone, but I need to stop that right now because I'm doing a show. All right. And so... And then, of course,
Play-Doh
literally the very...
Not all of it.
Yes, Play-Doh contains wheat, is what Inger says. So, speaking of Stretch, there he is. Stretch Armstrong. Kenner put him out in 1976. In 1977, a little movie called Star Wars was looking for a tie-in, and they came up with how to do it. And so Kenner was responsible for that and had a really good time. Shrinky Dinks, a classic. You'd, like, paint them all up, and then you'd put them in the oven, then they'd all shrink down, and you'd hang them up all over the place. Crystal said, I had a baby alive. Yep, that one lasted generation upon generation. Now, funny thing about Kenner is they put out a little something called Fashion Star Fillies. Does that sound like My Little Pony to you? Because it was. It was very My Little Pony-esque. Trying to go on that. And then they were also responsible for The Littlest Pet Shop in 1992. Now, Play School, which we've already mentioned a little bit, now under Hasbro, had the Weebles. I have one. I used to have like 4 Weebles. I am down to this cute little pink one that has a balloon, just little blonde hair. I used to have some others. I don't know where they've gone. I'm actually kind of sad. I hope I can find them. They did wobble and fall down, unfortunately. But I had to show that off, and I do have the Weeble Treehouse as well. And so they also had the Glowworm in 1982. Now, Whammo seemed to have a really big hit on some of those more dangerous toys, like the slip and slide in 1961, the hula hoop in the 50s,
heck out of you.
The frisbee in 57,
hit your friend with a frisbee,
the Super Ball in 1964,
being your friend with a Super Ball,
and of course, finally, the silly string in 72.
The horrific thing of silly
string.
So,
after all of these different companies, in 1987, Kenner was bought by Tonka. Tonka was then bought by Hasbro in 1991. So all of these companies have just most of them have just kind of mushed together. That's kind of how it does. And the Loch Ness Monster version of Stretch Armstrong. Were you familiar with that one? It wasn't just Stretch himself. Yeah. So certain things where we would go electric. We had the electronic football. Did you ever play that one? Yes. And did you ever have the little professor, which is the reverse calculator? He asks you what 2 + 2 is, and you have to type in 4.
There's more to it than that. Yes. And it was the first time I felt really old is when I went to the Smithsonian and they had Mr. Professor in a case in a display, and the kids looked at me and they go, "Dad, isn't that toy you showed us that you used to play with all the time?" And I'm like, "Shut up."
So, yes, and Crystal mentions the koosh ball. That was something very popular in the late 90s into the 2000s. Very popular, very similar to the Nerf ball, being able to throw it around. Of course, I did say I wasn't going to mention too many games, but I'm mentioning a couple. Simon, because it was so much fun to play. It got started in 1978 and actually had a premiere party at Studio 54. Nice. I had no idea about that. The hell out of Simon. That Simon was a good time. Speak and Spell by Texas Instruments was also 1978. It would help teach you how to spell things correctly. Jimmy mentioned Simon as well. And then, of course, Merlin, the game by Parker, and it had like a pattern thing, and it had all the different buttons.
One of the few games that my sister and I could play together. And
gotcha. And Parker Brothers put that one out in 1978. And then, of course, more of the new ones like Tamagotchi in the 90s that my children had. Now, we've already talked about a bunch of different dolls, baby dolls that wet, cry, and blink. One of the other popular rag dolls was Raggedy Ann and Andy, which is interesting because Scary Movie knows that Annabelle, the doll, was a Raggedy Ann doll. Actually. So, just a little side note there, as I'm running out of time and moving on. One of my sister's favorite dolls was a Mrs. Beasley doll. That came out in 1967. She was this cute little blonde and had glasses and this little blue outfit. And she was popular because they had her on the TV show Family Affair. Buffy, the character, would do that. And then Kat says Speak and Math. And Crystal says, I had a keychain, Simon. Loved playing it to pass time when I was stuck somewhere and bored. And then, let's see. Oh, and I've already mentioned Barbie, Skipper, Ken, Midge, and Alan, Chrissy, and Velvet. The Bratz dolls were very big for my kids. So they came out in 2001 and had, the gigantic heads and the small bodies. And they were kind of controversial because people were like, oh, they're like party girls. You're teaching, single-digit age girls that they should be party girls and wear too much makeup. And I was like, I don't know. My daughter didn't really end up going too crazy, so I think we're all right. Now, one of my favorites, Mattel came up with something called Monster High, and I almost think it was kind of in response to the Bratz, but it's been very successful, and it has some of my favorite names of dolls ever. And they're all girls except for the last one. Frankie Stein, Frankenstein's daughter. Draculaura, self-explanatory. Cleo Denial is the mummy's daughter. Claudine Wolfe is Werewolf's child. Laguna Blue is Creature from the Black Lagoons. Ah, yes, Inger had a Mrs. Beasley doll. Very good, very good. And then Ghoulia Yelps. I didn't know that there was a Ghoulia one. But yes, Ghoulia Yelps, and I can't remember which... I was going to write down who that was, what they were.
Just a ghouls.
A ghost. kind of a thing. And then Abby Abominable. She was the Abominable Snowman and had a really great Russian accent. And then they had Cleo's boyfriend, Deuce Gorgon, was a Medusa. And so he had like snakes for hair.
It's Gorgon, actually. A male Gorgon. Medusa is a Gorgon.
Okay, there you go. See, I didn't know that. All right, so, and then we mentioned some of the tie-ins, Rainbow Brite, Care Bears. I wanted to thank, we also had the mention of Strawberry Shortcake. So, so thank you very much. Gordon. I keep calling, I'm having a problem. I keep calling people by their Ren Fair name and not their real name, so I'm sorry. Pardon? Twiggles. It's Professor Twiggles. So apologies.
Not a real.
Know you, love you. I still have to get better at remembering people's names, and it'll probably spring into my head like in a couple minutes. It's just what happens to be. And of course, we mentioned Transformers, He-Man, and She-Ra. I think this is your moment. Are you ready to show what you've got over there?
Oh, yeah. So He-Man, I was huge into He-Man. I love He-Man. He-Men were fantastic because they weren't just regular dolls. All of them had something weird, like Manny faces, the head spun, and you would have angry robot, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites was a little mister, right? So it would have a squirt mister that was the doll. So they all had stuff, the battle armor, where you'd hit them and it would show the armor. So I loved them all, and they all did the twist and stuff. And the thing that I always really, really wanted was the Castle Grayskull.
Castle Grayskull.
Which I never got.
No.
Never in my life did I get Castle Grayskull. And I always wanted it. I asked for it every year. And my mother didn't love me enough to get it for me.
Don't be mean.
And so I believe in an effort to torment me, my sister got it for my son.
Aww.
So she got it for him early on because he played with all my He-Man and stuff and loved it. So I did finally get to play with the Castle Grayskull because my sister got it for my son. It has like a trap doors and everything.
Nice.
These are I love these because they had all these cool stuff that they did. I had an Orko that essentially was one of those tops that you would pull the start cord and he would just spin around and spin around and spin around. So
I love it. So some other things that I wanted to make sure that I showed off while we had an opportunity. I've got this lovely little Snoopy, which is a Fisher-Price doll, and he would wobble whenever. So he wasn't quite Slinky.
He was supposed to have a leash on him.
Yeah, he might have in the past.
Yeah.
But he's gotten very old, and it might have been one that you can see where the leash used to go there. But yes, I think that one might have belonged to my sister. Then came to me. One of the simplest puppets that I have, but just cute as a button. Crystal said, Steven mentioned He-Man, I had She-Ra. Mm-hmm. And then Jimmy says, Castle Grayskull was so cool, I always wanted one.
Come over and play with mine if you want
so this, I can't even fit my whole hand into this little hand puppet, but I just always thought that his little attitude was so cute. Very cute little dude. And of course, if you ever had the tiny tea sets, I need to get this reset in here. I did have that cute little tea set. I don't remember if this was Jackie's then came to me. I don't know.
We'll take it to Ren Fairs with us.
Sure, yeah. And then here's one that I really loved, and she's called a rock doll. Now, I want you to tell me if you're thinking, I got inspired and I was aspirational. You would put her, see it has a little thing on her foot, you would put her on a 45 album.
That's right. Yeah.
And then they came with albums where you could sing along, and it was this character singing. And so she would just kind of spin around as the song would play. And so if you don't think that's inspirational, friends, that's the real deal right there. So and Jimmy says, I'm in. So, all right. So I don't think I've forgotten too much. Oh, yes, tie-ins. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What's better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? Another one that's made to look like a troll doll, of course. So that's everything that I've got on my list. And I suppose this means I need to make the announcement. Here's what's funny. In all of our chaos, because 3 minutes before we were ready to start, my laptop was working, and it just took a massive nosedive. It was absolutely awful.
We're
Mark
trying
says G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
We're trying something new, and I bet that this came through well. Mm-hmm. I believe it might be her laptop that is having some problems, which is why it generally gets a lot of glitch. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this one had many, but I don't like the vertical. I want the horizontal.
Same.
And so we tried to get it to where it would cast through the phone, through the laptop, and it seemed to be working, and then just froze the laptop and froze everything down the line from it.
So then I had to go back to basics.
And then wouldn't boot back up forever. So,
I have a decision to make.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't even know what she's.
I know. I'm nervous. I'm trying to decide. All right, I think we're going to do it this way. We are going to do.
You could put up a poll.
I mean, maybe we could, because I'm kind of torn between a couple of different things. One of them is, I promised I was going to do a part 2. Yeah, Inger said, much less glitch. Thank you. I'm guessing that is what has happened.
Now that we're done with Muskogee,
he has time to do.
I have time to make it so it's not glitched
yes.
as much after I rebuild my entire computer.
Paper dolls, did you mention those? We did not. I did bring up the simplicity of the puppet that I have is practically a paper doll, but yes, those are classics, and even through to this very day, people are still using paper dolls. And Kat says, Crystal, I use my fashion plates to create new clothing for my paper dolls. I love that. I love that. So we have a choice. I'm trying to decide which one to do. I promised before when we did our TV themes that I would do a part 2 because I only made it halfway through. So I was looking at TV themes, categories, so it was better, and we're getting a thumbs up. So I was thinking about TV theme songs, part 2. Or I had a suggestion from my other friend, Kat with a K. They mentioned sleazy cheesy. So I was like, sleazy cheesy summer songs. Yeah, so that would be things like Hinder and Nickelback and what
I like Nickelback. Come at me.
I know what people tend to call butt rock, nothing but rock. And so that's kind of what I was thinking ago. I'm glad to take, if you guys want to put some votes out now, if you want to do TV themes part 2, we'll do TV themes part 2. You have 24 hours to let me know which one you want to do. I've got TV themes, I've got sleazy, cheesy summer songs. So whichever one of those 2 that you guys are thinking that you might want to do, let me know. And then I will make a major announcement, and then I will go ahead and put it up as an event. For those of you guys that come in and hang in, thank you so much. I know I keep running over time. It happens. But there's a lot to talk about, and then I get excited about the commentary and all of the stuff that I have that I can kind of show off. So let me know which one you guys are thinking that you want to do between TV themes part 2 or sleazy, cheesy summer songs. We will come up with some fun stuff with that and have a good time with it. So again, thank you so much. I'm going to figure out how to close this down on my phone since I haven't really done it on my phone before. Oh, is that the one? All right, cool. So thanks again to my co-host, Steven. Thank you for jumping in and helping out with all of the crazy that came and went with all of this. Marcus saying music.
You can't do music. Both of them are music, technically.
I mean, technically they are, but I figured he would have yelled TV if you wanted TV, and then music if you wanted music. So keep me posted, guys. Let me know. We'll make a decision, like I said, in the next 24 hours. This is just how much chaos has been happening, just trying to keep up with it. So all right, guys, well, thanks again. I'm going to go ahead and click that button, and we'll see